What I love to do is introduce the right people to the right people.
I assemble the smartest people I can think of or reach out to carry that conversation, and that's exactly what I've done today.
Please give my panel a round of applause. Welcome.
Okay guys, Jay Martin here, CEO of Cambridge House, and I'm joined by Alex Tsukernik, President and CEO of Nova Royalty Corp. Alex, welcome back. How are you?
Doing great. How are you, Jay?
I'm always good, man. It's good to see you again. You know, every time I have you on, it's because you've just completed a transaction. I've had you on like once per month in November, right? Yeah. And you came out the gate so hot with this story. The market responded really, really well. I mean, anybody who built a position in the winter has been very favorably rewarded. You know, so I want to talk to you about what's next in the pipeline. You know, what goals you're setting for 2021. I know you're a long-term thinker. I love when I first met you when I was asking about, you know, the near-term 12-month plan. And you're like, I don't think about anything in terms of a 12-month plan. Like, this is a legacy business we're building here. And I appreciated that. And the proof is in the transactions you're putting together that are very forward-thinking. What I wanted to do today was revisit the macro a little bit and the copper narrative a little bit, because in December and January, Alex, I sat down with probably 100 different analysts, newsletter writers, money managers, and because everybody puts out their forecasts in December, January, right? And copper was one of the most common conversations that we had. And you shared an article with me a couple of weeks ago, put out by Trafigura, one of the world's largest commodity traders, forecasting by 2030, it's a 10 million ton copper deficit annually. 2030 is not that far away. So first of all, just what are your thoughts on that? Is this realistic? Is he on the money there? And what happens next with the deficit like this?
It's crazy. I mean, 2030 in copper terms is like tomorrow. I mean, if you listen to what the Freeport CEO was saying, I think recently, he said that if you want to develop a mine, and it's assuming you have a real reserve and you've done your technical work, it's a 7-8 year process from today. So, I mean, 2030 in this industry, which has such big lag times, is literally tomorrow. And so 10 million tons is, the number is much bigger than people think it is. I mean, so this is a market that's about, say, 25, 30 million tons a year, depending on how you count. It's very tough to bring one mine into production. I mean, it occupies the resources of a major company to build one mine completely. And so, for instance, take Taca Taca, you know, where we own, let's see, First Quantum's next major priority, which I mentioned multiple times now. Now, that's going to be a mine that's going to take them probably a good 3 to 5 years to build. It's going to be multiple billions, a lot of challenges. That's going to produce, you know, an average of just over 200,000 tons a year of copper. So that's going to fill 2% of your deficit that's coming basically tomorrow. So the question is, where's the other 98% going to come from? Yeah, and so it's. I mean, I don't think anybody knows. I don't think anybody knows the incentive price that it actually takes to speed up. I don't think anybody knows exactly what the production schedules look like. I mean, one thing we have learned over time is that these big projects, you know, kind of where we focused our royalties on, is that's going to be where people look to, because there you can get the scale. You know, both initial production, you can expand them because these are massive ore bodies. They always get expanded over time anyway. You might be able to speed up the expansions.
Sure.
So yeah, well, I mean, you look at that number, you're not even sure if you can believe it, to be honest, because it's just so big. But it looks like, listen, that's what the world is looking for in terms of decarbonization goals. I mean, the industry is going to have to figure something out.
Yeah, and that's what when you look at numbers like this, that's what I try to wrap my mind around. It's like what do you do about this? I mean, it's a substantial deficit. And okay, let's talk about that demand for a second, Alex. So 10 million tons a year is colossal. Where is the majority of that demand going to come from?
It's going to be worldwide. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, what we've never seen, which is what's happening now. I liken it. Imagine if the whole world was undergoing an industrial revolution at the same time, and they're all using the same inputs to get there. I mean, this is I think why we started the company. I think in the first place, we saw this trend coming. It's not even a trend; it's just a complete change in terms of how we operate. And I mean, I'm a history buff. I've read enough in my life, and I have the industrial revolutions that we've seen in the prior age. They all happened separately. You know, the Americans did it in their own time. The Brits did it in their own time. Europe did it in their own time. Russia. So it was spread out. Right now, everyone is doing it right now, and they're trying to shorten the time frames as quickly as they can. and they're all using the same technologies. So I have never seen anything like this, actually.
Do you ever wonder about the geopolitical implications? Because, like you said, it's a worldwide demand. Everyone's trying to build at the same time, and everyone's charging towards an energy revolution or variety of things that are creating this copper demand. So the competitive landscape that's going to be created, you think, is going to be significant. Do you think about that? Yeah,
of course. I mean, listen. I mean, these are, kind of. I mean, I think I mentioned before. I mean, I think that a lot of people and governments, they consider sort of this energy transition effort to be existential. This is something that they view as vital to the survival of the world and their countries and populations and the like. So the resources you need become a strategic asset, no question. So no doubt. Listen, I mean, there's a lot happening. I think the world is changing kind of faster than most of us can keep up with at the moment, to be perfectly frank. But I mean, all we see right now is that you're going to have this need. And it's not like you can just bring a random deposit into production. This is a complex business. It requires a lot of money, a lot of expertise. And so I think that, the deposits that are large and capable are just going to see that much more love and attention earlier from people in anticipation of that.
What is the average time horizon to put an economic deposit into production, Alex?
Well, listen, if you're talking from exploration to production, you're talking 30 to 40 years. I mean, this is not a short development timeframe. Once you have a full reserve and things of that nature, I mean, like Freeport said, you're talking the better part of a decade to get that done. Because permitting. I mean, look at permitting right now. Look at the United States. It's not easy out there right now. So I think the world right now is really figuring out where the stuff can be produced sustainably. So it's not like I'm pointing a finger at the regulators at all. It's just the fact is that there's environmental considerations which are very important right now. This wasn't the case, say, 50, 70 years ago when it was happening. So you've got two competing needs. You have the need of the world to create sort of this energy transition. At the same time, the mining industry is the mining industry. It's not all easy. Obviously there's environmental concerns that come with that. And people are trying to address that, but I think there isn't a consensus yet on how it's going to happen. And I think people have talked about this, multiple times. It's like you're unleashing so much new metal demand, but the question is how you're actually going to get there. So I think we'll all find out.
Right. And those are the options. We're going to see a rising price inevitably when there's such an asymmetric supply and demand landscape. We can look at speeding up the expansion of current mines and then expediting the build out of proposed. What countries come to mind, Alex, as the most favorable locations investors could be looking at if they're looking at near-term producing copper deposits? Nearish.
I think we really love Canada and Chile.
Yeah.
I think those are excellent places. Really super supportive. Australia is excellent. I think the Salta province in Argentina, where Taca Taca is situated, is excellent. So I think that there's definitely some places which are making a clear effort to really beat, I think, the key regions where these materials are produced. And so I think the world will somehow distribute. I think kind of who does what. And I think from what we see right now, these places definitely look very strong. And then we'll just see how it goes from there.
Okay, so let's talk Nova for a minute, because you were incredibly busy over the last 6 months. Like I said, every time we had you on, it was to talk about your most recent transaction. And I know there was a sense of urgency, right? You were the first mover out the gate. You've locked up agreements with all the significant copper projects. To be honest, what's next for you? What can investors expect in terms of news flow for 2021?
Oh, look, we're hardly done here. I mean, we've only begun, so I think that, we've picked up royalties and some exceptional deposits, no question. And I think, we've gotten out of our way to make sure that we got royalties on things that had a clear future in the hands of strong people. I think we've done that. But there's more left. And so, when we started the company, we literally dug up every piece of copper nickel on the planet, every camp, everything that's in the pipelines of majors and mid-tiers and juniors and et cetera. And so we have a global team. It's in every place, and we're constantly talking to royalty owners about potentially doing deals with us. So I mean, our job was to track the world, and because we really want to create the best possible proxy for the sector, kind of as we grow. So look, I think it's reasonable to expect that we'll continue adding to the portfolio. And so I think, listen, it's been a great start, and sometimes we'll do more, sometimes we'll do less, but I think we have a lot happening here, so it's going to be exciting, kind of to really grow the company into something that any investor hopefully can see as a great proxy for these commodities.
And that's what Nova really is, right? It's the proxy against the copper price. So anything you can talk about, or go ahead?
Well, I think it's both. I mean, the copper price is good. But I think more importantly, we don't want to be just slaves to the copper price. I think we've gotten royalties on really exceptional deposits that will operate once they're going in any copper price. And so then, and I think that's a critical thing, because the advantage of a royalty is if you do your asset selection correctly, you're getting generational dividends essentially. And so look up when the commodity prices go up, obviously you do exceptionally well. But even when they fall, if you have the right asset that's strategically positioned, I think you can do very, very well. And I do think that's a critical differentiation from the royalties. I mean, take an example. Imagine that, for instance, right now, I think we're looking at a very high copper price environment for the next 10 to 20 years just because of what's happening. But these are mines that will outlive that as well. These are 50, 70, 100-year projects eventually. So you're going to go through periods of all kinds of copper prices, but these are also deposits that naturally expand over time. So you can have the copper price drop, but your royalty revenue may go up because your deposit, actually naturally kind of expands. That's the nature of, if you look at the history of what mining companies do with their prime projects, that's exactly what occurs. I mean, I saw a presentation from BHP some time ago. It's a shame that I lost it somewhere, but they basically showed to you kind of the return on capital on all the on all the major projects. Kind of in the mining sector. And most of them lose money, except that 1%, which actually compounds at double-digit rates for decades. So all we've done here is you try to buy royalties on what you think will be that 1%. Kind of that will really kind of be the focus of people and really generate those returns. So I think that kind of as a company, that's what we wanted to create and to build. And look, we're obviously always looking to add more. I mean, I think the reason you buy a royalty company versus something else is obviously the current assets give you everything. They give you the asset upside, they give you the commodity price upside, and they also give you access to the company and the team that built it, so that we can add more things of that nature to the portfolio. And you can do that obviously kind of in a structure where your G&A costs of running the company. We spend everything we need to spend in the business to make it successful, but in the context of the size of the assets, it's very small. So it's really something where you can run a top-notch business in a very good way without ever really interfering with the asset value which you got. It's great. So yeah, look, I think it's pretty exciting.
Now, I have to imagine you're on the radar of some traditional precious metal royalty companies, even though you're focused on copper nickel, which may be outside their historic business model. You've got to be on the radar now as a potential horizontal integration. Mm-hmm. Have you had conversations with any, Alex?
No, nothing serious. Certainly. No, not really. Okay. We think that, like precious metals guys, some great companies in that sector, of course. But for us, listen, all we're concerned about is really where the world's heading and capturing royalties on what we think will be the most strategic deposits and giving investors a way to invest in that. And so that's really, I think, the full scope of our activity. And that's pretty much all the time is spent on that. Any corporate stuff and things of that nature, I'm not sure how that fits into what we're doing at all, to be honest. So
I appreciate that. No, I'm just curious because I have to imagine your names come up in a variety of boardrooms in the resource business when looking at the growth of the business and where this is going.
Yeah, look, it's we never saw the company as something that we needed to sell. The reason I think you start a business is because you think you can build a great business. That's all we think about.
Sure. Okay. Do you expect going back to the market for capital in 2021?
Well, listen, given how much we're doing, we'll I mean, if we don't come back, it means that something has gone wrong. So I think that we definitely will be back at some point. Look, we've got access to some pretty good financing tools. We've got a healthy balance sheet. We've got $20 million available from BD Capital on the convertible loan facility. We have an ATM facility that we set up about a month ago or so. So I think, we have more than enough for certain things, but obviously, given what we'd like to do in scaling the business, at some point we'll definitely have to come back as well. So we'll just see what form it takes. I think the way we think about it is we set out to build a business that would be the best proxy for investing in these commodities in the whole energy transition thing. Whenever we go back to the market, it's because we saw a great opportunity to enhance that business, and we need additional capital. So I think that whenever we do come back, investors, I think, will be pretty excited to hear from us because it means it's something that really adds value. So, when that happens, it happens.
The 20 million facility with BD is relatively new, if like 3-4 weeks ago, correct? So talk to me a little bit about this.
Well, the facility is not new, but the amount is new. So they funded us really before we went public. They gave us that financing facility for $15 million, and so that was a $13 million convertible loan facility and a $2 million commitment to invest in their first equity offering, which they did already. So we had used up, it was $8.5 million of the 13 of the convertible loan facility on the Biscachitas deal. We used up 5, and so we had 4.5 left. And I think they're quite happy with what we're doing so far. And obviously, look, we have a need for more capital just in case we need it. And so they were really gracious, and they gave us another 15.5 to expand that because we were down to 4.5 availability. So now it's back up to 20. And it's a great tool to have, whenever something serious comes up.
Okay, 100%. Look, Alex, it's been great having you back on. We started covering the story in November. I know a lot of our subscribers bought in. They've been handsomely rewarded, and I like to stay on top of it because it's been a moving target. And I know a few investors have been chasing the stock. They've messaged me about it. So,
well, the thing is, it's funny when you get calls from investors, and people want to know why the stock has gone up so much. And I guess we consolidated a little bit. Now they want to know why it dropped a little bit. And to be honest, I'm probably the wrong guy to ask about all this stuff because it's. You're just building the business. You see so much opportunity and upside. I mean, whether it's $2, $4, $6, $10, $20, like you're not really paying attention to any of this. I mean, because you have so much you can do here. I mean, we got lucky that we were the first mover, and we got a chance to get some great assets, and we have a window to more great assets. So all you're thinking about is building a great business. The market's the market. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Yeah,
good for you. It's a good outlook, honestly. Getting yourself out of the noise, right? And just focusing on the signal.
Yeah, like I don't have time for noise, to be honest. It's just, you don't have a lot of choice, to be perfectly frank. But no, look, we've been blessed with investors, I think, supporting the story. It's great to have people who call us up and they say, no, we love what you guys are doing. It's some people, it's the only stock they own, which is great. I mean, I think, my favorite deal, I think, still is very much the second Taca Taca deal. When we did the first one, they took 80% cash, 20% stock. And that's understandable. We were like a super new company. We had just gone public like a week before. I mean, we were just happy that we got it, to be honest. Right. And then, I think we started building the business and began to really execute the strategy. And I think they saw kind of what we're trying to do. So when it was time to buy the other 0.18% that they looked to do something with, they took 80% in shares the second time. And so I think when that occurs and people showed that vote of confidence, and it was actually done at a materially higher per share price than we did the first deal. So look, you're flattered and really honored by the shareholder support, and hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah. Well, you're humble, and how many times you mentioned luck, and you've been blessed, and you get lucky and all this stuff. But I know it's hard work behind the scenes. So I guess we'll keep our eyes open because I know the pipeline is full, and you didn't touch on specific transactions, but I know there's some coming. So we'll stay on top of it, and I'll look out for news.
Yeah, look, on the deals, it's tough to touch on that. All I can say, Jay, is like our job is to track the world. So anything in our sector, we're intimately involved in anything whenever there's a window open. So, kind of, I don't even know how to guide on this stuff. I mean, our job is to cover everything and go through the window when it's there. So, that's all I can tell you.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, we're almost allowed to fly again. I'm coming to New York probably late spring. So
phenomenal.
We'll have to hook up. I look forward to it. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex.